So now, I mean, we're talking about, the learning network and the practices, and they're always being updated, it's organic, and people can adapt them and see which bits they want to try out and experiment with them. It's not a set of rules to follow in that sense.
No,
But there are rules once you've agreed them.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the global norms they're engineering specifications, really. I mean,
Yes.
they are explicitly engineering specifications.
Yes.
And in that sense, running an organization is like building a bridge. There are an infinite number of different ways of building a bridge.
Yeah.
Some of them lead the bridge to fall down, and these are guidelines for having your bridge stay up. But obviously, every organization experiments with different ways of doing it, and when they find new ways that work, those get recorded and passed on through.
It's a bit like Niall Ferguson's new book on, on Western civilization and the last 500 years. He sort of said there are 6 key institutions. He said it's not the same as culture. It's actually almost like an app for a mobile phone.
Yes.
And it's these together that actually led to the rise of the West in terms of technology and economic development.
I have to read that book. I love that way of looking at it, and I really do see things in that way.
So there are institutions here which are continuously being updated and adapted to modern times.
Absolutely.
Within the global network of sociocracy, is what you're saying.
That's correct.
Which is a lovely learning network, and it follows its own principles of learning and adaptation. And one thing that struck me from my initial acquaintance with collaborative governance, as I prefer to call it in England, is the idea of decision making by consent, because or within the boundaries of consent. It's not quite the same as consensus, but it has similarities, and it enables these meetings to work, whether they're operational hierarchies or whether they're circles.
Yes.
You apply them to both, and I would like to say something a bit about that.
Sure. I mean, first of all, the consent versus consensus thing. There are so many different kinds of consensus decision making. And people have very different ideas about what it means to make decisions by consensus. Some people think, it means everybody agrees. Other people think it's a unanimous vote. Some kinds of consensus decision making are very formal. Some are very informal. And the sociocratic consent decision making, you could think of as being a kind of consensus decision making, but it is very precise, and it avoids a lot of the things that people think of as dysfunctional in consensus decision making. So I don't know if you've had this experience, but one board that I started working with a number of years ago used to do decision making by endurance. They said it was consensus, but really it was whoever was left arguing at the end of the night would be the one who got to decide. And there are a number of other problems that people run into, aside from not having clear time boundaries. But one of the problems that people run into in poorly run consensus decision-making processes is the failure to define how you know that you've made an agreement. And this is the absolute heart of consent-based decision-making, or sociocratic consent. And I'll just be using consent as a shorthand here, henceforth. So you know that you've made an agreement when somebody has made a proposal. Everybody in the circle has had a chance to hear the proposal and acknowledges that they understand it. And nobody has a paramount objection. Well, what does that mean, a paramount objection? Very precise definition. A paramount objection means that one of two things. Either the circle, that is the circle that's making the decision, will not be able to accomplish its aims, and you can say why, and or you will not be able to remain a member of the circle. So, for example, if you and I, John, are going into business together, and we have formed a circle to go work with a client. And so the aim of our circle, or in other words, the exchange, the value that we're going to be providing to the world, that's the aim in sociocratic parlance. If the value that we're going to be providing to the world is we're going to serve the transformation of this client such that they are able to accomplish their business objectives. And I say, you know what, John? I think we ought to have all of our flyers printed green. And I'm proposing that as a proposal here going forward. And you say, you know what? I'm not sure that really works for me. Well, we've got to check this out. I'll say, okay, I hear that, and I'd be willing to tweak it, but we've got to decide now. So do you have a paramount objection? And you've got to think to yourself, okay, green flyers, is that going to stop us from accomplishing our aim? Is that going to stop us from transforming our client to serve the business? Yes. Our client is going to freak out if they see everything on this green paper. It's going to reduce the buy-in in their organization internally, so that's going to really get in the way of us accomplishing our aim. Okay, paramount objection. We can't do it that way, we've got to do it a different way. On the other hand, maybe you say, green, oh, you mean a lot of green color but black and white print? And I go, oh yes, that's right. I don't like green, but I don't see that that's going to stop us from accomplishing our purpose, the aim of transforming our client. So no, I have no paramount objection.
Yep. So it's acceptable, that's not my first choice.
That's correct. But who cares about your first choice? That's not the point.
The most important to me is that we're all agreed, and it's going to get done, and it's in line with what we want, what our purpose is.
Exactly.
Our identity, our value system.
Exactly.